Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on SALTcast, where every Monday we discuss what's happening right now in the Masters Alliance war scene. I'm your host, BlimeyCThat, and today we'll be introducing everyone to our team, bringing up some important topics for the new season, and a tip to predict who will be Season 45 War Champion. Tonight, I am delighted to be joined by our co-host, fellow Salty member, and content creator, MCOC Encyclopedia. Welcome to SALTcast.
Thank you, Blimey, for having me, and it's good to be back in Salty after a short break.
Yeah, well, we definitely missed you, man. How have things been going?
It's been oddly quiet. I have those stressful moments of going, hang on, I need to go. No, I don't need to check that. It's fine. It's no longer there. But it's good to be back. The 2-day wars are treating me nicely, so things are a little bit calmer. Which have their pros and cons, I'm sure we'll cover at some point. But no, it's good to be back.
Yeah, well, we definitely missed you. You are a classic Salty member, for sure. Real quick, I want to encourage everyone to check out MCOC Encyclopedia's YouTube channel. There you can find some high-quality videos and detailed tutorials on how to defeat some of the toughest defenders and story content, and I have a link posted down in the description.
I wouldn't say high quality, but let's go with medium. Let's go medium quality at a push.
They're really good. You and I, so we're seasoned veterans in the Alliance Salty. I think most people would agree that Salty has proven to be one of the fiercest competitors in the highest level of competitive Alliance war, having placed, top 10 for well over a year, most recently earning War Champion Season 43 and second place in Season 44. How long have you been at Salty? And you excited to be back?
Yeah, so I joined Salty on Wednesday the 15th of April 2020. Was there for about 3 years. I think when I joined it was Plat 4, somewhere there or thereabouts. I seem to remember when I joined I had a prestige of about 8,000 and was very happy to have a 5-star rank 4 Captain America. But that was back in the days when I could just take everything with Ghost Wasp and Guillotine 2099 because, it wasn't that long until Flow came out ages ago. But yeah, that was around for 3 years. Then I leave for 2 seasons and you guys go and get first. So, yeah.
Coincidence.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, absolutely. But no, it's been a long road. I needed a break. I needed to refocus, but I'm really pleased to be back and things are going really well this season. And I joined in the season where Ghost isn't banned, so we're doing very well.
Yeah, more Ghosts. Are you getting a lot of action with her this season? We haven't been assigning her very much.
I've taken 9 fights in the first 2 wars, 8 of which were with Ghost. All but 1 fights have been with Ghost. That was with Absorbing Man versus 262 Arcus.
Nice. So Ghost, your favorite champ?
Yeah, Ghost has been she was my hard carry in Act 6 as a 5-star. Then during my worst set of openings ever, I did manage to pull her as a 6-star a bit later. That was the Apocalypse and Professor X featured crystals. I thought, you know what? I'm a big boy account now. I will go for some featured crystals. I think I opened 12, 7 of which were Gambit. And that was one of the more painful days of my life. That's probably the closest I've got to quitting.
Oh, gosh.
I didn't get Professor X. I didn't get Apocalypse. I didn't get Ghost. However, I kept going with it for some stupid reason and ended up pulling Apocalypse and Ghost later down the line. Apocalypse was my first rank 5. I've got Ghost as rank 5 ascended now, so probably a good thing I did keep going in the long run. But yeah, and then about a year ago, I unlocked Recoil Masteries and was like, what have I been missing all this time? So yeah, I played Ghost for 2 years without Recoil. But yeah, no, she's so powerful once you know where you're going. But yeah, no, she did most of Act 6 for me, so I kind of have to enjoy it.
I knew your Ghost was rank 5, but Ascended is crazy. Oh my god.
Yeah, CC pushed for it, so I was quite pleased about that one.
Well, I mean, her value isn't going away. There might be a little less things that people use her for these days, just because there's just so many good champs. But yeah, she's timeless for sure.
Absolutely.
A little bit more about the Encyclopedia is that you've been gone for 2 seasons, but it's been pretty sad because I've been really missing your award ceremony at the end of each season.
No one kept doing it. To be fair, that was a whole evening sat down in Excel trying to put that all together, because SG keeps all of the war plans for every war and all the recording. It's all there to be found if you know where to go looking for it. I don't actually have access to it all anymore because I'm no longer an officer after my break, so I might have to ask nicely, see if I can have it back. But yeah, that was a long time going through every single war plan to see who took every single mini boss.
I mean,
but no, that was good. I did enjoy doing those.
It'd be that hard. I mean, you just have to copy and paste Fios, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But more on that later, I'm sure. But yeah, he would clean up at those awards, but can you blame him?
So this podcast is mostly discussing the ins and outs of things that are happening in Masters level war. And so we're just going to give a little background. What do you enjoy the most about Alliance War?
I think there is the certain level of pressure that comes with it. You have to perform, you have to be perfect. But I think if you've ever played any other game solo for a long time, and then you go and play PvP, you might think you are amazing. You go play PvP, I give it 5 minutes before someone absolutely trashes you. And I think that's where Alliance War comes in. Particularly at this level, everything is set up to be against you. Sure, like some of the story content and so on is, you've got your rubbish nodes that don't work together, but you can always go through it. But in Alliance War, everything is set up to be just as annoying as humanly possible. And I think it really pushes you to perform at your absolute peak. The rewards are okay as well, but I think that's point number one. I'd say number two is certainly the level of sort of teamwork that comes with it. Going back to what I was saying about 2-day sort of Alliance War timers, one of the best parts of Alliance War, in my opinion, was when you had about 3 or 4 people that just happened to be on at the same time and you coordinated and just ran through the map. Those moments, particularly if you were just watching them go through, were really cool. And I think the 2-day timer is something that's actually much nicer now. It's much less stressful, but those moments will be missed indeed. And then probably third comes, I'm free to play, so I need those juicy rewards, even if they don't come around often enough.
Yeah. Yeah, you said something about the map, and I think at first, like most new, whenever something new happens, people are quick to reject it. But and it's been a lot less stressful playing War since the last season, because you can get everything done in one run most of the time, as long as you don't have like the final island fight and someone's blocking you. And I've been enjoying that along with the 2-day. It's like I can just do my fights anytime, and it's pretty cool. War has been pretty important for me. It's one of my favorite game mode. Of course, my second is probably Battlegrounds, but something about War is I don't know. There's this outward pressure to always perform at your best, and I mean, there's also like the sense of dread. Is like this could be the war I'm going to die, and then it's going to feel terrible, and sometimes you even get into a war and you're like, not really playing well today, and this might be the one where I die.
I don't think there's any sense of like greater dread when you go into a war fight and you're like, oh, I didn't activate the pre-fight, or I didn't put the invul boost on, and just suddenly your heart goes cold and you're like, oh god. And at that point, I think that's what separates the great players from the outstanding ones, the ones that can still pull it back even if things aren't quite going their way.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end, just being part of a team and getting that spirit of competitiveness where you're just like, okay, you maybe the other alliance finished first. They have one death, and you're just like, okay, the only way we win this is we have to get 0 deaths in all 3 battle groups, and then whenever your team actually just manages to do it, it's a very satisfying feeling. And with war, I think that there's a lot of things to be excited about. A lot of things that people could be talking about and be interested in that I think a lot of people just don't have the knowledge to even start to plant that interest. Of course, people have been posting war videos for forever. But I started SALTcast with kind of the mission to just bring the top level of war information to people who might be interested. And yeah, I don't know. I think I mostly just did it because nobody else is really doing it. And I know I've kind of experienced some more of the esports scenes and maybe one of another game, and they have this flourishing like esport where people are tune in and they watch they're the best players in the world, and they get excited and start arguing with each other about which teams they think is going to win. And I kind of have this vision of like maybe Alliance War could be somewhere in that direction, but right now people don't really know anything about the top alliances. So that's what I'm trying to get into. And I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely right that in any game there should be recognition for the top players, but also the top teams. Trying to organize, I mean, in this case, 30 people. I don't know of a single other game where that level of coordination is required. And I know it's sort of 3 times 10, but even a 10-player team is pretty out there to get that level of coordination to run through a map, all day, every day, pretty much. That is actually something really special in any game, not just in mobile games or PC or console or anything. That is quite something.
Well, I definitely think there's a lot for people to get excited for. I'm looking forward to bringing you back for us to make some season predictions. But first, I'm going to bring TripleU in. He's going to get us caught up to speed with this week's war news.
Season 45 of Alliance War is underway, which means that there's a new set of blacklist and whitelists, but this is also the second season of the tactic, which is worth noting. The blacklist is Titania and Hulk for expert tier, and the whitelist is Ghost and Kingpin. Now, the really cool thing about the war map is that it just switched last season, and it allows much better access throughout the entire war map with share fights and all that amazing stuff. Now, the news for the offseason is that Kabam just removed rematches, which means that now you cannot match the same alliance twice in one season. This is really impactful because a lot of the top alliances, particularly Noon, LVT, Salty, GT40, were rematching a bunch of people over and over again, particularly each other. And so what this means is that now that one war between certain people is going to be really important for determining both their head-to-head and how their records compare, which is really important and going to completely change the landscape of Alliance War and how competition works. But that's all for now. Alliance War recap for the first week. Hopefully we can have an amazing Alliance War season with lots more news to come.
Lots of stuff happening as Season 45 kicks off. Our third member of the production team, TripleU, bringing us news and strategies to help keep you up to date on all things war. Triple, welcome to the SALTcast, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Triple is also on the Alliance Salty, where he fulfills duties as an officer. How would you feel about sharing a few details about your job at Salty, as well as maybe some of your leadership experience in the past?
Yeah, not at all. So in Salty, I do a couple things. I help recruiting, which I have a lot of fun with. I review plans just to make sure that they're all up to date, get another eye on them, so to speak. And just general day-to-day stuff like helping guide rank ups. I personally have a lot of experience dealing with rosters and resource allocation, and so I usually help guide rank ups as well. And then in the past, I led an alliance called HCX, which only ran for 2 seasons, but did get Masters, which I was really happy with. That was actually my first Masters title. So I was a leader in that alliance and have been officers in a couple others as well. But Salty is the best one I've been a part of by far.
That's pretty impressive. I wanted to know, I don't know, you can choose one if you want to talk a little bit more about either recruiting or what the process for planning is at Salty without giving too many details.
Yeah. So the way that people always should approach planning, there are 2 ways. The first way is a player focused way, and the second way is a defender focused way. And so one way is you can look at the hard defenders on the map that have very few counters, such as in this war map, node 38, which is the right back at it node, has very few counters. And so you can look at that and say who has the capability to take that, whether that be skill, experience, or attackers. And that's the first way. You look at the hard fights and you say, this is who I want to go there. Or you have someone who is, say, a mole man player. So you know they're going to go to null on path 4. And so you plan counters for defenders and then fill everything else in. That's the first way. And the second way is if you are especially in slightly lower tiers. So I'm talking lower masters, P1 and under that. I guess that's not lower tiers, but if you're not in the upper echelon, you will probably plan based on players. So often in like Platinum 1, for example, you're going to have 1 or 2 players in a battle group that are very dominant and take a lot of fights. And so the other way is to say, okay, I know this one player can take 9 fights of war. What is the team I can give that person where they can take every single fight possible? And what is the secondary team I can give the second person to take every fight possible? And then you kind of branch off from there and fill in the gaps after that. So those are the two main ways.
It's really interesting to hear about. Officers and planners, they definitely don't get enough credit for what they do. So, they all have different roles and stuff, but we do appreciate all the help that I'm sure like Fias really appreciates your help as well. Triple, you brought up brands earlier in your segment. Hulk and Titania, they've been blacklisted. They're out. One might think that that should allow alliances to effectively ban some more of the most powerful tactic attackers. Who do you think alliances will or should be banning this season?
Yeah, so the first thing to go over is the dynamics of a black and white list. The nature of the blacklist is that it reflects the most banned champions from the previous season. And for example, last season was also the same tactic as this season. And so the bans and therefore the blacklist are highly relevant. Whereas the season before, they are an antiquated set of bans from an old tactic. And so this is every other season. This is the season where the blacklist actually is truly effective. And so you do have, as you said, Hulk and Titania banned. I think there are probably 5 or 6 champions that will vie for those last 3 actual manual bans. I think you're going to see a lot of Silk bans. You're going to see a lot of Stealth Spider-Man bans. And you're going to see a fair number of Void bans, Cassie bans, S99 bans, and also probably a couple Herc bans, depending on who you face.
Herc is always an option. So you don't think I'm going to be able to play with Silk again, do you?
I mean, I took her to rank 2 in the hopes that we both could. She's phenomenal, and more importantly, I think there are some people who are tactic focused and some people who highly benefit from a tactic but also are good outside of it, and Silk is one of those champions who has a lot of utility outside of the tactic as well. So that's my long way of saying in 2 seasons when she's in whitelist, be happy, but I don't think you're going to be using her anytime soon.
Yeah, she's a great champ. It was definitely fun to use her for a while, at least when she was tactic. But that's okay. We definitely have plenty of options that we can go over. So maybe just do an example here. Say it's the unblockable long shot on path 1, section 1, second node masochism overtime. Say they've banned Spider-Man 99, Cassie, and Silk. Those are like the kind of most popular buff immune or pseudo buff immune champions. Who would you be assigning to that fight?
So literally, this is a super easy answer for me, I think. There are a couple options, but basically you want to go for people who are tactic, mainly because the tactic will not turn off, but strongly mitigate both the regen and actual shrugging of debuffs. And so the easiest option would be to send someone like Spider Gwen with the Spider 99 relic at 4, 5, or 6 star rarity, which would give her buff immunity for her dex buffs, and therefore you would never trigger Unstoppable, which is really helpful.
I need
Void is
that
also an
relic.
option. Yes, you need the relic. Void is also technically an option. The one, I wouldn't say problem, but you need to make sure that you can get some sort of heavy counter. So baiting out an unblockable heavy is something that very few people can do. But throwing a special one, you would need to get the slope and make sure it's stuck. Otherwise, you'd get into trouble with Unstoppable. But stealthy, just with trying to use Enervate and just mitigate all the power. Or probably Spider Gwen with the S99 relic, I think would be really cool.
It is a tricky fight because they're completely unblockable, and then Longshot will auto nullify your dexterity buff, and then he's unstoppable, and then he's unblockable again, and you can definitely get like caught in that fight. Catching dexterity would probably be a good option for people to look at. So maybe Quicksilver or Ant-Man.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was going to interject and say. Quicksilver would be a phenomenal option. Probably top 3 option easily there.
Yeah. Well, it does sound like the tactic is very strong last season and this season, and if people look closely, they should still have plenty of options, even if their favorite ones do end up getting manually banned. I'd like to talk about you just a little bit more. Triple, your own YouTube channel, recently passed 2,000 subscribers. You have over 800 videos posted, ranging from war to battlegrounds, short interaction videos, and live streams. Real quick, just encourage all viewers, please go check out TripleU. Push that subscribe button. He is very consistent about uploading, and you will learn a lot. You can find links in the description to his channel, as well as MCOC Encyclopedia in the description. When did you start playing MCOC, and how long have you been posting videos?
Okay, so I don't know exactly when I started playing MCOC. It was a while ago, probably around. Actually, I think I do know. I think it was December of 2015. And I played on and off. I played and I stopped for a bit. And then when did I start recording videos? Basically, for the largest portion of my playing time, I was free to play, meaning that I did not spend any money, iTunes credit, anything on the game. And I really prided myself on that. And so the first video I think I posted was a free-to-play crystal opening where I hoarded stuff for... There was a Gwenpool Goes to the Movies event, and I hoarded stuff for that, and I want to say I hoarded... It might have been through Christmas, or it was just that event. But I hoarded a bunch of stuff, and I posted it, and at that point, it was the largest free-to-play thing on YouTube, even as someone who didn't, at that point, grind Arena. And so I really thought that was cool. So that was the first video I posted. And since then, it was just kind of trying to post things that no one else was posting was kind of the goal for me.
How long ago did you say you was that video?
That video, I'm not sure. It's definitely quite a bit ago. It was Gwenpool Goes to the Movies, so I'm not exactly sure. I can probably check, but I don't know if I want to scroll through 800 videos.
That's
but
okay.
It was a fair bit of time ago. Probably at least a couple years. The other thing is, like, I've been on and off with uploading because I have my own life, as many of us do. And so they do fluctuate time to time in terms of like the consistency of uploads, especially when Battlegrounds is off, because I love posting my Battlegrounds content. But yeah, by and large, especially over the last like year and a half or so, I've really tried to like be a little bit more consistent by putting out content.
You've been doing this for a while. How has your passion about the game and as a content creator evolved over the years?
That's a really good question. I think content creation fuels me to do well even when I don't personally care about how I'm doing. Because one thing that I used to struggle with was really hating when I died. And obviously we always hate when we die. But just really pissing me off. And so I had to train myself to kind of be not devoid of emotion, but to understand that people are going to make mistakes. Like, I always want to go deathless, but I always try to mentally force myself to expect 1 death per season, just so if that happens, I don't feel bad. And obviously I feel bad anyway, but just so I don't feel like crippled, because I know a lot of people have talked about just like deaths hitting them really hard, and it's a game, so my goal is not to do that. Which isn't to say, of course, that I'm not trying as hard as I can in any fight. But when I'm not as passionate about the game, because we all have these ebbs and flows. That's a bad pun, and not on purpose, I promise. We all have these ebbs and flows of our passion for the game, and whenever it's on a downswing, I usually find that content creation and trying to put cool stuff out is kind of the thing that keeps me going. So I definitely would have quit by now if it weren't for that. Absolutely.
Nice Path 5 reference there. Um, yeah, that's really cool, man. I know as when it comes to YouTube, at least, I've been extremely off and on, and I'm kind of now just getting to the point where maybe I have the tools to be more consistent and do things, and that's what I'm kind of hoping with this podcast, and I'm glad to have you along here. Just before I let you go, I need to get your opinion on something. Who do you think has a shot at War Champion this season?
That's a good question. I'm going to throw the 2 obvious names out there that people in the endgame community probably know, but I want to throw my first sneaker pick out there, and that is Nefty. Nefty is phenomenal alliance, cares a lot, and has a really good backbone. And so I don't necessarily think they're going to get War Champ this season, but I think if anyone is going to be that underdog to have a chance, it's them. And then the 2 main ones are Salty and GT40. Obviously, we are a part of Salty, and GT40 has a long string of World Champions that we broke, but then they're trying to bring back. And so I think those are the 2 ones you're going to see when Salty and GT40 match. That is, many people are saying that that one war is going to be the war that decides the season. And so that's going to be the one that you want to focus on. I can promise you that whenever we get to that war, it'll be featured on this podcast, because the endgame community has basically made it very clear that that one war is going to decide War Champ. Obviously, there could be another alliance that comes out and goes 12-0 or goes 11-1, but the general consensus and my personal feeling is that it's going to come down to GT and Salty, and whoever wins that war.
Heard it. Look forward to that war whenever it comes out. We're going to find out who's going to be War Champion in just a few weeks, but we're going to continue that discussion. I'm going to bring back MCOC Encyclopedia. Triple, thank you very much for coming. We're really looking forward to your clip of the week coming later in the program. Can't wait for that.
MCOC Encyclopedia, welcome back.
Thank you.
So we're about to get into our discussion about who we think could be War Champion for Season 45. You're just coming back from a 2-season break, and we're just going to take a look at what kind of some of the results were from last season, so we can kind of inform what we think can happen at the end of this one. So first off, we're just looking at GT40, Salty, and Nefty, who they ended up getting podium for Season 44. The question mark on the top 3 is Nefty. Now, they had a very good season. They ended up, of course, they got 3rd, and there's been a question mark around them because I know I even had several people in Salty like, oh, who is this alliance? They've been doing really well. And I don't know, have you heard of Nefty before?
I honestly can't say I have. When I was checking in on the season standings, I was like, Nefty have come in as 3rd. Is that an alliance that have just changed name or not? But no, I'm really curious to see whether they've really popped out of the woodwork, and then to sort of come in and beat alliances like LVT, TCN, even like New Nation and 4Loki to a certain extent. That's really surprising to see someone sort of come out of left field and do that, as it often takes a long time to climb through the Masters ranks. So they are very much sort of the ones to watch at the moment. So GT40 coming in sort of top is no one's surprise. They've been doing that for the last however many seasons. Salty, we're still trying to claw our way up there. We're doing it as best we can. But yeah, Nefty to come out and just just to claim third like that. That's a big upset and definitely someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah, kind of a dark horse of the tournament, if you would call it a tournament. Some other alliances I'm kind of looking at now, not just looking at what the final placements were. I'm kind of directing my focus onto how many attack bonuses alliances are able to achieve in a season. Now, I don't know if you've been heard, but Kabam kind of changed the way that matchmaking works this season, so that these top alliances like us, GT40, New Nation, all the ones with the highest war rating, we're supposedly not going to be having any rematches this season.
That will be interesting, because before we were always working on the sort of about 6 wars spacing. So if you see someone in the first half, you'll probably see them in the second half. So to get a wider spread of matches, I think will be very interesting and could perhaps give some unforeseen results with people that got absolutely shafted in the first half of the season by matchmaking before, and then just sort of getting a repeat of that. Now might be able to get some slightly clearer air, and perhaps we could have some unexpected alliances floating to the top.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the standings of the end of the season kind of shift around now, because some of the alliances that were having exceptional death counts, like New Nation, I've got stats from after War 11, they were at 35 deaths, but they ended up getting 15th place.
That seems really, really harsh, doesn't it? And I suppose that brings you back to the old argument of attack bonuses versus your overall win-loss ratio.
Yeah, and I think it's right now that problem has been expanded by the fact that only some alliances have been rematching the very best alliances. So I'm talking about GT40, Salty, New Nation, maybe LVT. Each of those other guys, they have to face GT40 twice, which is tough, right?
And no discredit to anybody, facing GT40 twice. This is an alliance that will regularly go 12-0, 11-1, 10-2 at a push, but it's usually 11-1. That means there's a pretty good chance facing GT40 twice is 2 losses.
And Salty, our alliance, if we are playing as well as we have in the last couple of seasons, people are also facing us twice. That means, let's say that they only lose to 2 alliances. They only lose to GT40 and Salty, but they match us 4 times a season.
Mm.
While other alliances, maybe they only match us once a season, or even 0 times. I can see why some alliances would feel a little bit of frustration that they're both competing at the top level of war, but they're not facing the same kind of competition. So I think we are going to get some.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I was just thinking that we could see some shakeups from what might be reflected in last season standings.
Yeah, and I think that frustration, we felt it. So, about this time last year or something, when we were sort of floating in that mid-masters bracket, whenever we'd say, oh, we're up against GT40, well, that's pretty much a write-off then. There's nothing we can do here. If they die once, we take that as a pretty good result, that we would expect them to clear the map pretty much flawlessly.
Yeah, I think it's something that we were definitely even sympathizing with for a long time. There's just like, oh, we have only had this many deaths this season. Why aren't we ranking so high? And I don't know. I'm hoping that with matchmaking, we might end up seeing a more accurate picture of how alliances are doing based on their actual performance, and not just did they win who they matched. So I want to kind of keep the discussion going by discussing just a little bit of some of the alliances we think we should keep our eye on this season. Who are a few that you're looking at?
So, I mean, for a start, you've always got to look at last season's top three. Whether they will suddenly drop down, whether they'll hold their position, maybe they'll move up slightly, unless you're already on the top. But outside of that, in the slightly lower Masters bracket, and actually slightly further down, 4Loki had their first season not in Masters for quite a while, so I'd be curious to see how they are planning on pushing up. LVT as well, I believe first war of this season have actually beaten New Nation 4-2. So 2 is a really good clear, and I was surprised by that, so LVT have come onto my radar quite heavily. You've got some of the old-timey ones as well, such as TCN and PBT, always good to keep an eye on as well. Are they sort of floating in mid-masters, or are they going to sort of have a push and have a comeback and see where they end up placing?
Yeah, LVT has been doing very well for several seasons now, and I don't think people really expected them to improve as quickly as they did.
Absolutely.
There's really no question they are a top 3 podium candidate, and we can definitely see them there. Yeah, I'm looking at GT40, Salty, Nefty again, just because they got third last season. There's really no reason why they couldn't do it again. New Nation, LVT. I mean, there's a lot of other alliances who can definitely be in the running, but these are some of the ones that I've kind of got a close eye on right now. The ones that I'm like, okay, how many? I'm like checking on them, like how many attack bonuses did they get? And
I think if Nefty match LVT, a lot of people are going to be watching that score closely.
Sure, all of these top alliances, and but there's one war coming up that I think everybody has their eye on, and that's going to be Salty versus GT40.
The Clash of the Titans.
I brought it up with Triple about who he thought he could be world champion, and he says there's a good chance that it really comes down to that war. You got any predictions for what's going to happen?
I mean, Triple's not wrong. That, assuming that the matchmaking is now fixed and there are no rematches, it's perfectly possible either Salty or GT could go 12-0. I don't know if that's been done before. It wouldn't surprise me if GT have gone 12-0 before, but they often throw the last war if they've gone 11-0 for the first ones because they know they've got their slot. But I mean, it's happened before, and we've cleared 0-0 several times. We usually lose on time. So as much as I hate to bet against my own team, based on history, I'm going to have to give it to GT40. I don't want to, but I'm going to.
Well, I think the history, at least the recent history, has been a little more ambiguous, and I think I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. I mean, if you think for the last 2 seasons, we've kind of gone 50-50. In season 43, we won 1 war, they won 1 war. Season 44, same thing. They won the first one, we got the second one. So that's got to put a lot of stress on when we meet him for the first time, because there is no second chance, really. And look, no problem. GT40 can beat anybody in the world if they're on their day. And I think the same is true for Salty, and probably even for a few other alliances as well. I mean, anybody can has the potential to get the 0-death war, and it's going to be interesting to see. But let's just get into it right now. Your top 3 picks, who do you have?
I mean, GT40 are stayed on the podium for the last however many seasons. So to not put them there, I think would be a stupid move. So they're going to be my number one pick. Salty, as long as we stay on our game, I've got a call us for podium as well, as long as we can keep it going. But the third slot, I think, will be the interesting one. And I'm not saying third place, just third slot. But honestly, it could go to any of 5 alliances. The new matchmaking will change things. There's no doubt about it. Whether it will change the podium, I don't know. So I say I'm going to be watching the LVT Nefty war with, very carefully. I think TCN on a good day could definitely push it. I mean, PBT is a little bit lower, but depending on what sort of mood they're in, they've had some very strong wars in the past. New Nation, again, always a possibility. And XK9 might sneak in, again, depending on... It all depends on the matchmaking. So I think I'll say LVT take third and beat out Nefty. They had significantly fewer deaths last season, but I will be watching carefully.
Well, I'm a salty boy.
We know that.
And you know what? I think it's fair enough. I think Triple also voted for GT40. I'm going to go salty War Champions 2 times. And yeah, I'm just going to go and just put my vote there. I think that's fair. GT40 got 2 votes. We get 1. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead and put GT40 second place. I think it really, from just the data from the last 2 seasons, is looking like a 2-horse race. I mean, anything could happen. We could just have a terrible few wars. Maybe things fall apart. Maybe GT40, they stop trying. But just kind of basing it off of the most recent results, I think it really could be a coin flip. And when you get down to 0-0 wars, it comes down to the individual, because whoever makes the first mistake, unfortunately, is going to have feel the worst at the end of it. Because when it's going to come down to the individual to play their best in every single fight. And will it come down to time? Will it come down to just one death? Maybe we suck against GT40, we drop a bunch of deaths, and that's just going to be how it is. But just to keep on going with that discussion on the importance of individual play, we've decided to add a segment called our Clip of the Week, where we select one war fight from either in Salty or in the Masters community that we thought was either exceptional or at least very entertaining. TripleU is going to give us this clip from Salty member Bergyyy. Let's take a look.
Cool Warfight of the Week goes to Bergyyy from BG1 of Salty, and check this out. This is a rank 2 Spider-Ham versus a tactic defender, and oh my gosh, I want one of these guys so bad. Check this out. I'm going to go ahead and parry. Okay, Porker Poppers, perfect, parry, special 1 to pause the Porker Poppers until he throws a special, which is now dashing in so that you can punish. Beautiful gameplay here. All right, gonna dash in again, punish that, perfect. Now you just want to get more Porker Poppers, special 1, okay, there we go, and you can see the spider nonsense also building up, which is of course very good. Means that the Porker Poppers will reapply at a much better rate. Heavy to reduce that nonsense. He throws the special 1. Perfect. 1 more, and the fight is over. Special 1 to finish it, and we are good to go. Beautiful, beautiful fight.
Oof, I mean, that is about as clean as a war fight can go. Those special 1 dash in sort of midway through, absolutely on point, and then the Porker Poppers just absolutely melting him through there. Really, really clean. Really, really nice. Oh, and I just wish the RNG had been more on his side, so I could have seen some more of that popper damage, but handled really, really smoothly.
Yeah, it was a great fight. Thanks to Bergyyy for sharing that video with us. It's due to clean fights like these where it can help make us successful in the season. I really liked. I mean, obviously the tactic is helping him out a little bit, but I thought he did a really great job of kind of juggling Conflictor and everything.
Absolutely. You can see him using the tactic debuffs to push him back over a bar of power. He gets, the AI plays ball very nicely. Those special ones come thick and fast, and you can see him just, once you get into that rhythm of bait the special one, punish, use Conflictor to push him back over again, repeat, he just absolutely melts him down. And I kind of want to go get myself a Spider Ham now.
Well, the clip of the week is definitely one of my favorite segments that we've decided to add into our part. I'm looking forward to all the future ones that we could possibly have. We're looking at maybe branching out further into other alliances and stuff. And on that topic, some of the other future goals for this show in particular, we're trying to get important guests on, people who can give us as much information as possible about the inner workings of the top alliances, or people that have a long history of high-level gameplay in war. And I think we have a special guest coming for episode 2. We're still working on the scheduling, but I think people should be excited about our next guest for sure. Well, that's going to be pretty much everything we've got for today. MCOC Encyclopedia, I want to really thank you for joining and being a part of SALTcast. Big thank you to TripleU as well. I think we've got a great team here. I'm looking forward to how we interact with more people as we bring them on. And I think we're going to have so much to discuss about war and other things in the alliances that we're competing with.
Agreed. Thanks for having me here, and I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be good.
Yeah, well, take care.
Bye, everyone.